Hello and welcome to the second video in the EdgeRater for HGSI users video series. And this video is all about the basics. So that includes getting set up, exporting symbol lists from HGSI so that you can use them in EdgeRater, and then the basic use of templates in conjunction with those symbol lists. So the first thing to do is to set your default data provider in EdgeRater to be HGSI. So let's go ahead and do that. So here I am in EdgeRater, and when you first run the program, the first display that you'll see is the templates area. And so you see the templates tab at the bottom here is highlighted. This is the templates area. And what you need to do to set your default data provider is to go up to the menu area, click on Home, and click on Data Providers. Now, if you have HGSI installed on your computer, then HGSI will be an option in the data provider configurations. And so in order to set HGSI as your default data provider, you just place a check mark next to HGSI and then press OK. And that is it. And by HGSI being your default provider, what that means is whenever EdgeRater needs to fetch data for symbols and you haven't specifically set a location to get that data from for a particular symbol list, it will fetch that data from HGSI. And there are also some templates within the system that do not use symbol lists, but instead they have symbols built into the templates, and the default data provider is the location that those templates fetch that data from. And one good example of that is the US market summary template. So in order to check that you have made that setting correctly, find your HGSI category in your template library, select your US market summary template, and then up in the menu area, make sure you have templates selected and just press run. If you get data in here, it means you have that connection, the default data provider, set correctly. And this is an example of a template that has symbols built right into the template, and it doesn't use a symbol list. And the location that any template that has symbols built in gets its data is the default data provider. So this would not work if you did not have HGSI as your default data provider, because the other providers don't have these symbols. The $SPX, $DJI, $IUXX are very specific to HGSI. The next thing we're going to look at is how to export symbol lists from HGSI to use in EdgeRater. One important thing to know about EdgeRater is that all the symbol lists that are used within the program are contained in your Documents, EdgeRater symbol lists folder as text files. So if you open that folder up in a folder explorer, a file explorer in Windows, you will be able to browse all of the symbol lists that you currently have installed. And a lot of these symbol lists are text files which you can open up. For instance, let's open up the Hindenburg.txt. And you can see the format of these files. It is a symbol followed by a comma followed by the name of the security. And one other thing to note is that some of these lists are surrounded by square brackets, and these are lists that the system maintains and shouldn't be modified. Any other list you can change, you can create your own lists, and that's how we're going to get a list from HGSI into EdgeRater, by exporting from HGSI as an ASCII file into this folder. So let's go ahead and do that. So now I'm in HGSI, and one place to export lists from is the designer. So if you open up the HGSI designer, find a list that you'd like to export. For instance, let's try exporting the COVID-19 treatment index list. So when I select it, you see the names of the securities appear on the right-hand side. So now if I go to File ASCII utilities and export groups as lists. I need to export this to the folder that we just looked at. After you have set the location one time, it will be set from then on. That is why mine is pointing to the right place. But the first time you do this, you'll have to click on Browse, and then you will have to navigate through your folder hierarchy to the EdgeRater symbol lists folder. Now click on Save there, and a couple of other settings are important here. Exclude Hgsi indexes, and the format, choose symbol, comma, name. That's the same format that I showed you in the file. If I click on OK there, export is complete, and that step is done. So now if I look back at the folder, we should find, and if we can search by date modified, that the latest modified list here is CNBC COVID-19 treatment index.txt, and you're free to open that up in a text editor. So I'll open it up in Notepad, and you can see exactly what's been exported from Hgsi here. So now let's open EdgeRater, and now because that file is present in that folder, when I use the drop down over here on symbol lists, I should find CNBC COVID treatment index. And when you first select it, this area is going to be blank because there is no historical data. All the system has at the moment is the symbol name and the security name. So what we have to do is populate that with data. So really all you have to do is press this button here, EOD update, and because we have Hgsi set as the default data provider, that's the location it's going to go to fetch this data. If we open up there's an edit button over here, you can see more information about this particular list. It says now the data provider is Hgsi. It lists all of the stocks that are in there, and if you click over to the data snapshot, you'll now see how much data has been extracted from Hgsi for use within EdgeRater. And that is set by this data update options tab here. So by default it's set to 2 years, but if you want to fetch more data for analysis, then you can just click on this and maybe change it to 10, for instance. Once you've changed that though, you will have to press this button update data again, and you'll see now that it's gone through and extracted the data from Hgsi, and it's got 10 years of data where 10 years is available. And you'll also see over here now that this area has been populated with all of these symbols. Now let's just prove that we have data in there and that everything is working. I'll go ahead and select within my Hgsi category, I have the VPA signals template, so I've just selected that. I'm just going to press run against this symbol list and just ensure that it actually works. And here we have it. We see all of those symbols here. We see the VPA signals and the trend, major, minor, and immediate. And you probably should see a chart on here too. If you don't see the chart, then you can press the show chart in the menu area. That should bring up the chart. And once you have the chart selected, you should then be able to click down through any of these symbols that are in the report, and the chart will update. And you'll notice also that the chart has got a layout specific to that template, which is the VPA layout, and also a highlight pointing to the date that you have run the template. You can turn that highlight off if it's getting in the way by pressing the highlight button here, and you can zoom the chart in a little bit to see a bit more clearly what's happening. And also one thing you can do in EdgeRater reports is sort by clicking on the column headers. So these are currently the stocks that have any kind of VPA description. So transfer of ownership is coming in here from Pfizer. Test for supply is here with QGen. No demand area of weakness is here for ALNY and also for AMGN, and effort to rise is for HOLX. So if you got that far, then you have successfully exported a list from Hgsi, extracted the data, and run a template against it. The previous steps are all that really is necessary to get a good interoperability between Hgsi and EdgeRater. And they are, just to repeat, setting your default data provider to point to Hgsi, and secondly, being able to export symbol lists from Hgsi and use them within EdgeRater. And now we get to a section that is not 100% necessary, but it gives a fuller integration and allows you to do things with the Hgsi indexes. So the first thing is generating indexes from warehouse. So Hgsi maintains a bunch of data fields for all of the securities that are in the program. And the warehouse view is a way for you to see those data fields. You can create your own warehouse views containing more or less fields, just to kind of make it clear what you're looking at. And there are some pre-built for you. And for the integration with EdgeRater, there is another view called the archive view, which once you've installed the add-on, which we'll talk about in a minute, you'll see under warehouse views there's some EdgeRater views, and one of those views is archive view. An archive view contains most of the fields that are in the warehouse and just allows you to see everything. But the important thing about this is that you're then able to keep a record and keep track of this on a daily basis. So once you have the archive view selected, you can click on File and save it as an HTML file. And the location that you save that to is in your EdgeRater folder again, so Documents, EdgeRater, and then I've created, and you should too, another folder underneath there. One level is called Hgsi, and underneath there I've created a folder called Warehouse Export, which is where I'm saving this All Securities HTM to. So warehouse view successfully saved. And this is something that I do every day so that I can keep track of the changes in the warehouse over time. You don't have to do it every day, but if you ever want to go back and find out what was in the warehouse, or you want to run a warehouse report from one specific date to another date, then you need to have the state of the warehouse on a particular date. And so this is the way that it's done. One of the other advantages to saving this view is that EdgeRater can then construct all of the indexes with all of the securities inside and give you a very, very rich view and powerful interaction within EdgeRater. So let's show how that works. I'll open up EdgeRater again, and this time I'll go over to Templates, and under the Hgsi category I'll select the Generate Indexes from Warehouse template. And all we do here is choose that file that we just exported from Hgsi. So I have it already set in here. It will be saved, so next time you run it will always point to that location. But to set it for the first time, you just go and browse your folder hierarchy and you find the EdgeRater Hgsi warehouse archive and then allsecurities.htm. And once you have that set in there, you click on Run. That'll take a few seconds to run, so I'm going to just pause this video until it's finished. You can always see the state of an EdgeRater task by looking in the lower left of the screen. There'll be a progress bar, and you can see progress and then some description as to what is happening in the progress. So I'll just pause this video for a second. So once it's finished processing, it just gives you a quick report telling you what has been created, and you can then go back to the Templates tab to continue. So one thing you will find once you've run this report is it's created a bunch of new symbol lists for you. So there's an all securities list, there's an indexes industry list. So this is being created by looking at the warehouse view, extracting all of the stocks under particular industry groups and creating indexes of those stocks. Now HGSI itself has those indexes, but you can't actually get the data from HGSI for the specific indexes. So EdgeRater takes a look at all of the stocks in each of the industry groups and builds the indexes within EdgeRater. So you'll have the indexes for the industry groups, you'll have the indexes for the major industry groups, you'll have the indexes for the various sectors, and you'll also have the indexes for the SIC code groups. So let's talk about how to get that particular EdgeRater view into HGSI. The way to do that is the same as any HGSI add-on, is to go to Preferences and then click on Install Add-ons. And you need to navigate to your Downloads folder where you downloaded the EdgeRater HGSI add-on.zip file to, and just select on that and open it, and add-ons have been installed, and HGSI will restart to import them. So we'll say yes, import completed, and so now when we open up Warehouse, we will find that there should be the EdgeRater views and the archive view. And the only reason that you need to install this add-on is so that you get all of the fields into a view. If you have other views within HGSI that have all of the fields in, then use those instead. But the EdgeRater archive view is just designed as a catch-all for all of the fields. So how did that appear in my downloads folder, the zip file? If you go to a web location, so there's a web location, HTTP www.edgerater.com/shared folder. Shared folder. Okay, that is going to take you to an area on a shared OneDrive location. And if you click on integrations in that area and click on HGSI, you'll find the EdgeRater HGSI add-on.zip file. And so you just need to download that into your download location. Click on download and save that. And then that will appear in your downloads folder. Now I've already downloaded one before, so now it's just created another one with the brackets 1. And so that's where it is. And you would follow the import step from that location. So to check that everything there has been done correctly, so you've exported the correct file, you've generated indexes from Warehouse, you've got your new symbol lists, we're going to see if we can get the seasonality of these industry groups. So first of all, I'm going to select the indexes, Warehouse indexes industry. This is now 10-year index of the industry groups, and I'm going to find my seasonal analysis category in EdgeRater, and I'll choose seasonality by month, and I'll just run this template now against this industry group index list. Okay, so now what you can see is month by month what the seasonality is for each of these industry groups. So the best performing groups in January, you can choose to find that by sorting by the number of up years versus number of down years over the last 10 years. So 9 up years and 1 down year. Defense primes with an average gain of 2%. In February, there were 9 up years and 1 down year for defense primes of 2%. In March, there was 9 and a 1 with 0%, so 0% is not that good, but there was a 9 and a 1 here with an average of 4% gain for sporting goods in March. And so on. You can go through all of the months to find out which groups have performed well over the last 10 years in any particular month. Let's click on December, And we don't have any 9s and 1s, but we have 7 and 2. And you'll note that these numbers don't add up to 10, they add up to 9, because we are just entering December now, so our data is a little overlapped. If you go to November, we do have 10 years. But so for December, we now can click on here. We can find, you might choose to sort by the average up years. So you can see that the renewable energy project dev group has a 5% average gain and 6 up years and 3 down years, followed by 3% in air freight. So that's one of the things you can do now when you have Hgsi and EdgeRater together, is look at seasonality of industry groups. And of course you can run the seasonality on any list that you have in EdgeRater, any list that you've exported from Hgsi, or any of the built-in lists. You can also choose to run this on your major industry groups or even on your sectors. I'll quickly run it on sectors, and you'll see each of these sectors listed over here and the seasonality for the sectors. Let's go over to December again, and December has not been that much of an outstanding year, with the highest average percent being 1%, with 7 up years and 2 down years in the communications group. But November, you had 4% with 8 and 2 for healthcare over the last 10 years. Now, generating indexes from the warehouse HTML is a task that takes approximately, once you've pressed the button to run, and it depends on the speed of your computer, but it could take 3 or 4 minutes for this to complete. Some days you might decide you don't actually want to go through the whole process and spend 4 minutes waiting for that to complete. Obviously you will if you want to see some of the reports run against the indexes for those days, but often all you really want to do is convert the warehouse HTML to a spreadsheet. So we'll choose that template, and I'll just again select the warehouse file that you exported, allsecurities.htm, and then just press run. And that's a very quick process which takes the HTML file and converts it into an Excel spreadsheet. And the reason that you want to do that is you now then have a record in Excel of that warehouse file. So you can go and look at it in Excel if you wanted to, but really no need to in Excel. EdgeRater is able to read those files, and this is how you'll be able to, we'll talk about in some of the upcoming videos, how to do a warehouse report to see the difference between 2 warehouse files. So my recommendation is that you save or you convert the Hgsi warehouse HTML file, the all securities HTML, into using this template, the convert warehouse HTML to spreadsheet, convert it to a spreadsheet, and do that every day so that you have an ongoing record of your Hgsi warehouse. Because Hgsi doesn't maintain a history of the warehouse, it only gives you the current day. So this is a way that you can actually maintain a history for yourself. So that's it for the basics, getting set up, exporting symbol lists, and basic use of templates with some of those lists. In the next video, we're going to look more depth at some of the Hgsi templates, and then in the video after that, we'll look at other templates and some of the cool things you can do in EdgeRater once you have all your data connected. So see you in the next video.